viewers, and welcome to yet another edition of AAU Impact Stories, where we are celebrating academic mentors. Today we are still at the University of Khartoum, precisely at the Faculty of Agriculture, where the AAU cameras have identified a professor who has specialized in cereals. Please follow this discussion on AAU social media platforms, Google, or look for Association of African Universities on YouTube and on Facebook, and also on Twitter. Go to AAU_67. I am your host. My name is Ransford Bequin. Please stay tuned in as we introduce the guest after this short break.
The University of Khartoum is the oldest university in Sudan. It has a lot of faculties, and this includes the science faculty. The science faculty has a lot of facilities, and among them is the Microbial Culture Collection Unit, MCCU. The MCCU has two sub-units, namely the Molecular Biology and the Microbiology units. The Microbiology unit consists of the culture room and the Microbiology lab. The Microbiology lab is well equipped with state-of-the-art facilities to conduct analysis on bacteria and other microbes. The bacteria are then sent to the culture room for incubation based on two temperatures, that is, the cold and the room temperature. There is also a freeze dryer that converts bacteria into powdery forms to be stored over time. The Molecular Biology unit is where DNAs are extracted using equipment such as microwaves. Other facilities of the unit include a sterilization room, where all equipment used in the unit are sterilized. It is also where the microbes used in the various experiments are killed. A cold room, where samples such as DNA and media are kept, as well as a meeting room where seminars and experiments are done.
Welcome back, viewers, to AAU Impact Stories, where AAU is celebrating academic mentors all over Africa. Before the break, I had informed you about an academic icon that has been identified at the Faculty of Agriculture, University of Khartoum. And it is my pleasure to introduce Professor Abdulmonim Ibrahim Mustafa, who is a professor of food science and technology who has specialized in cereals. Professor, welcome to AAU Impact Stories.
Welcome.
Salam alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
The independence of the Sudan. So, can you tell us about life before independence in the Sudan?
Well, as you see, I'm an old man.
Yes.
I lived during the colonization by the British and Egyptians, and I was in Western Sudan, in the town called Nuhud. It's in Kordofan province.
Kordofan
province.
Okay,
yes.
Western Kordofan.
Yes.
Okay.
I was born there and had my education, elementary school. I entered elementary school in 1949, and then the intermediate school in 1951, 53.
Okay.
And after that, I went to the secondary school in Al Fashir, in Western Sudan.
Okay.
In 1953.
Okay.
And then finished in 1957.
Okay.
Going from Nahod to Al Fashir, that was a long story.
It should be.
At that time, there were no roads, or it was only sand dunes over there. I spent 7 days to reach the school.
No, please repeat. You spent 7 days?
7 days to reach the school.
To reach the school?
Yes.
Because there were no roads?
No roads.
But you were determined to go to school?
Riding on a lorry, at the top of a lorry.
Ah,
yes.
My goodness.
And it was the rainy season.
Wow.
Yes. I had 3 lorries to reach at the school. The first one broke on the way, and I took another one, broke on the way, and the third one
also
took me to the school.
Took you to the school. So you spent 7 days?
Yes, 7 days.
Wow.
In the mud and in the sand dunes, and lorries stuck and broken and so on. And it was my first time to leave my mother and father.
Oh my goodness.
It was a very difficult
journey. Moment for you.
Yes.
I guess you were homesick when you got to,
I was sick before going.
You were even sick before leaving. Okay.
Then I reached. The school was not ready to accept us because it was not finished.
Oh.
We have only 8 rooms and a dining room.
And a dining room.
Yes.
But then why did you...
8 rooms were for studying, and then the classes, and then the dining room. We live in the dining room, we sleep in it, eat in it, and then go to school.
Wow, that is fantastic.
They did that because all the West, there was no, and therefore there was no secondary school.
Okay, so in the Western Kordofan there was no secondary school. So you needed to move.
We have to move there.
And then you moved to a place where they were not even prepared to take you.
Not
because the facilities were not ready.
It was not ready.
But you were determined.
We were determined.
Okay,
yes.
so how long did you stay in the secondary school?
Said 4 years.
4 years.
4 years. At first it was rough for us to stay there, but after the second year, the school was completed.
Okay.
And we had a good time over there.
You had a good time?
Yes.
Were you a student leader?
Well, I'm not a leader, but...
Then, when you were in school?
At the school, yes. I was an athlete.
You were an athlete?
Yes.
What event?
Running.
Running, track?
Yes.
Track event.
400 meters.
400 meters?
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
I think after this, you have to race me. I also did some athletics.
No, it's too late.
It's too late.
I can hardly walk now.
Oh, it's okay. Okay, that's nice to know. So did you ever win any, certificates in your sporting events during your time? At the secondary school level?
And the secondary school?
Yes.
Sporting?
Yes.
And examinations, no, this. Oh, we were not doing sporting, we were studying very hard.
Okay.
Very hard, because it's the school, we were the first group.
The pioneers?
Yes, we were the pioneers.
Okay.
And we don't know the standard. Okay, we have to study very hard.
Okay.
To compete with other
schools.
Yes.
Yes.
So that we did a good job and entered the university.
Okay.
With very good grades and
So all the pioneers, how many were you? The pioneers
we were 72 students.
You were 72?
Yes.
And all of you passed?
No, not all of us.
Majority of you
not
passed?
Not all of us, but majority passed.
Okay.
And but students, the second group, they all passed except one.
Except one.
And they had the prize of the best school in Sudan.
In the whole of Sudan?
Whole Sudan.
Wow.
That's
your
second
group?
Second group.
Second
yes.
group?
Yes.
Okay.
But we were the first. We were not able
so
to make
when you went to secondary school, what was your career ambition?
Well, my father and mother, they wanted me to be a judge.
A judge?
Or administrator, because they see that administrators in those areas are very respected and are a good person. They have all the facilities and so on. But I was not on that line. I was in the line of science.
You were in the line of science?
In the line of science.
So your parents didn't know of your ambition. They wanted you to do what they want to see in you.
But according to my line, I went through with my grades to the Faculty of Science.
Faculty of Science.
We studied the first year and then come to agriculture.
Okay. During the pre-colonial era, yes, what were the major career attractions? Was it the judge, accounting, lawyers, or what was the major thing that everybody wanted to do then?
My father
during the colonial era, whilst you were growing up?
I had no ambitions of that time.
Okay.
Until I reached the secondary school, then I started to realize life and know the directions and so on. Then I went to do science lines.
Okay.
So I wanted to be a scientist rather than any other thing.
Did somebody urge you to do science, or it was your personal wish? Personal wish.
Yes. Because my elder brothers, one was in the military, was a pilot.
Okay.
And one was a teacher in the school, and one was administrator in the government.
Okay.
And none of them was a scientist.
So We wanted diversity.
Diverse life.
Okay.
Yes.
So you entered the University of Khartoum, which was in 1961.
Well, the University of Khartoum at that time, they divided either to go to the art or to the science.
Okay.
And was in the science.
You were in the science group.
Then we entered the first year, preliminary year.
Yes.
Then I went to agriculture.
Oh, you went to agriculture?
Yes.
Well, did somebody urge you, because science is broad? You could have done any other science course.
In my mind, I was planning to go to engineering.
Engineering?
Yes. But my grades were a little bit less than
the qualification
to
mark.
go to the engineering.
Okay.
But it was rather to the biology side, so I went into agriculture.
Okay.
Yes.
So you pursued up to the first degree in the University of Khartoum.
Yes. Then you get me to the campus of Shambat here, where agriculture is.
Okay.
And I spent all the time here, and when I finished, I joined the Food Research Center. It's just a few meters from here.
Okay.
Yes. The Food Research Center at that time was in joint venture with FAO.
It's a joint venture with the FAO, Food and Agriculture Organization.
Sudan, yes.
Okay.
Sudan and FAO, and it was very attractive at that time.
It was.
Yeah.
Viewers, we are interviewing Professor Ibrahim Mustafa, who is a specialist in cereals at the Faculty of Agriculture, University of Khartoum. Let's go for a very short break, and when we come back, we shall continue the discussion. Please.
طبعا عشان نقدر نشوف انه كيف ونقدر نستفيد من التجارب بتاعت الناس الثانيين في انه نشوف انه كيف دايرين نعلم الناس architecture، يعني to keep looking around لاي حاجه ممكن تكون فيها ideas، يعني نقدر انه نكون creative و think out of the box من الافكار already موجوده عندنا. ده ما من ناحيه بس artistic ولا من ناحيه شكليه، لكن من ناحيه بتاعت السبستنس بتاعت الاركتكشر نفسها، وانه كيف احنا ممكن تكونتريبيوت للاركتكشر ات يعني اذا كان building design or otherwise.
بالنسبه لدور المعماري في الحياه من غير معماري، انا ما بعتقد انه كان في حتكون حياه، ما كان حتكون في ايكونز جميله في كل البلدان، سواء كانت دبي سواء كانت نيويورك الى غير ذلك من البلدان اللي فيها ايكونز معماريه كبيره.
كنا مصبحين في تسليم، كان الموضوع صعب شديد ومرهق، يعني تصبيح في تصبيح في تصبيح، في النهاية بيكون في النتيجة مثمرة، يعني تصبيح لكن هي بتجيب نتائج حلوة. تنبسط أهم شيء استمتاع أي في أغلب الأوقات، في أغلب الأوقات
حاجة ما بتكمل المشكلة، يعني هي حاجة مهما اشتغلت فيها ما حتصل لها. يعني ممكن تقول إنه خلاص أشتغل وأخلص وخلاص، يعني أخلصها وأخذتها وأعمل بعد ذلك حاجة ثانية، تيرون إن هي ما حتخلص.
معمار، لما انت تسالني معمار بالنسبه لي شنو؟ زي ما قلت قبل كده انه دي اكبر حاجه حتعطيني حياتي الكبيره والمهمه حتعطيني في حياتي، لانه في معمار لقيت طريقه انه انا اعبر عن الروايه، لقيت طريقه انه انا اوصل مفاهيمي والحياه اللي ترسخت جواي بمجهود، سواء كان بتاع الشغل سواء كان بتاع موديل ميكينج سواء كان باي طريقه، انه انا اقدر اظهر الحاجه دي. انه بالنسبه لي انا بعتقد انه المعمار اسلوب حياه.
Welcome back, viewers. This is AAU Impact Stories, and you are following us on AAU_67, and that is AAU Twitter handle, and Association of African Universities on Facebook and on YouTube. Also, you are following us on Aau TV. Today, we have a special guest, an icon in food science and technology who has specialized in cereals, and he is Professor Abdulmonim Ibrahim Mustafa. Professor, just before the break, you were talking about your schooling days at the University of Khartoum, where you graduated in agriculture. Then you went to the Food Science Center.
Yes.
To work.
Yes.
Okay. How long did you work at the Food Science Center?
Well, only for 9 months to go for a scholarship.
You had a scholarship?
Yes, from the FAO.
Oh, okay. So the Food Science Center was a partnership that gave a scholarship to students or to workers?
Yes.
To workers?
FAO gives scholarship.
They gave you a scholarship?
Yes.
To do what, sir?
To make a master degree in green science.
So you went to do a master's degree in green science?
Yes, and they found me acceptance from Kansas State University and from Winnipeg in Canada.
So you had two universities?
Two acceptances.
Kansas State University and then Winnipeg
and
in
Winnipeg,
Canada?
Canada. But I preferred Kansas because this is the best university in green science.
Oh, okay.
Actually, it was the only university that offers BSc, MSc, and PhD in green science in the world.
In the world,
yes. So I preferred it.
Okay.
And second thing, because the weather in Canada is very cold. In America, it's cold, but it changes less.
Yes.
Less cold than in Canada.
Okay.
So I went over there and I spent exactly 24 months.
For the master's?
Scholarship for 24 months, and I spent 24 months for the master's degree. And I went in January.
Okay.
Very cold.
Yes, the winter season.
The town was white because of the snow.
Yes.
And that was the first time for me to see the snow, actually, and to walk on it.
And to walk on the snow.
To walk on it.
So how did you feel?
Well, I felt very
excited.
Excited at first, but secondly,
I can imagine it.
It was very cold, very cold at that time.
Okay.
But I found I came late about a week.
Okay.
To the school. Okay. I found no place to live in at first, so I lived in the hotel.
Okay.
For about 2 weeks to find a place. Then I found a basement.
Somebody's basement to stay in.
Downstairs. People go up and I go
down.
You
are down. Yes.
That was ridiculous. Then I know nothing in the town. Only the university and this.
And the basement.
The basement, the heating was with gas.
Yes.
And I heard before that, before coming to the United States, that South Sudanese died in Britain
because of the basement.
Basement, but no, not the basement, but on the gas.
Gas.
So when I sleep, I put the gas off.
You might feel the cold.
And sleep in a very cold place.
You might feel the cold.
Put all my clothes on me.
Oh my.
Because I'm afraid of dying from suffocation.
Having an experience.
So, that experience. But after I spent the first semester, then I found the place upstairs.
Wow.
Then I moved.
But then the second semester was maybe in the autumn or in the summer. So, okay.
Then I bought a car.
You bought a car in the US?
Yes, I bought a car.
That is very adventurous.
Chevrolet 1957, fully automatic, 8 cylinders, very big car.
I can imagine that.
Very big car, 8 cylinders.
So you use
I don't know how to drive. Then I asked one of my friends to drive this car and leave it outside.
Okay.
And anytime he has some time to come,
yes,
he took me around. And then I took 1 week to learn. Then I went first the written exam, then after that the practical exam I passed, and I start to move.
Okay.
So I know.
So when you finished the 2-year program,
When finished
the 2-year master's program, did you come back?
1969.
Yes. Did you come back to Sudan?
Yes.
And then you continued to work?
I continued to work in the food
in the
science.
Food Science Center?
Yes, in food science.
And then what else? How long did you work there? Did you have plans of continuing your career?
Yes,
your
it was in my mind to go back to the same university to have a PhD.
Oh, right.
And I have to come back to that. But I've been given over that to work, but I rejected. I rejected over there because I wanted to come back to work in my country rather than work over there. And I work for 1 or 2 years and make it just a training period. I said, no, I am obliged to go to my country.
Okay. So you went?
And I went and came back exactly in the 24 months. Came back in 69. And I worked for 4 years and a half.
Okay.
And then I went back
to the same university, Kansas State.
Yes.
To do your PhD.
PhD.
Were you sponsored this time too?
From the university.
You were sponsored by the university?
Yes. Kansas State University.
Oh,
yes.
The university that sponsored you?
I got a scholarship, yes.
It means that when you went there for your master's, you did marvelously well. You left a good mark.
Alhamdulillah. I did well.
Thank God for that.
They accepted me.
Yes.
I was in Holland for research work.
Okay.
From FA also, for the composite flour.
For the composite flour?
Composite flour, because of the problem of the wheat here in Sudan.
Okay.
That it was only grown in the northern province.
Okay.
And production was not enough to cover the consumption, but the deficit, so we have to mix sorghum with wheat to cover the deficit. So I made my PhD in that.
You made a PhD in composite flour?
In composite flour.
Okay. Yes. Because the sorghum and
is
the
available
here.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Wow.
And
that's the work of a food scientist.
And I was the first one who started this work in Sudan. Here before I went.
So you were a pioneer?
I pioneered in this.
You pioneered that?
Yes, yes, yes. And still the food research center is working on that field. And I'm also working here in the university in the same field, and also with supplementation and fortification of the cereal products.
Okay.
To make them more
so
nutritious.
When you undertook this research, were you doing it in collaboration with others? I mean, maybe, I know the university might have sponsored you. Did you have collaborators from outside the university into this particular research that you pioneered?
The only working collaboration was in Holland.
Was in Holland?
I have given 2.5 months to do research in the field of composite flour. And I spent these 2.5 months over there. But most of my work is here. But I go to outside for conferences for the cereal processing. Had good time, met many of the researchers in the field. I know most of them until now, have correspondence with them, and we meet in the conferences.
Okay. So when you got the final product at the end of the research, how did you disseminate it? Did you publish, or you published?
I did. I published papers.
You published the papers?
Yes. And make sometimes an exhibition.
Okay.
Yes.
So were you giving the intellectual property rights to the product?
Yes.
Then something should be named after you. Okay.
I didn't give anything by my name.
You didn't do anything by your name. You are a patriot. Viewers, we are talking to Professor Mustafa, who is a food scientist at the University of Khartoum Faculty of Agriculture. Please stay tuned in. Let's go for a short break, and when we come back, we'll talk more about the works of Professor Mustafa.
Welcome to the University of Khartoum, which was set up in 1902 in Khartoum, Sudan. The university has a lot of antique buildings, and among them is the University of Khartoum Library, which is one of the oldest buildings of the university. It was set up in the early 20th century. The library has benefited from some donations, and these include the Turkish and the Japanese corners. The Turkish corner was refurbished by the Turkish Cooperation Agency, and the Japanese corner was also refurbished by the Japanese International Cooperation Agency. The main entrance of the library has two big halls, the Western Hall and the Eastern Hall. These great halls house historic collections of the university. The university library facilities include an antique conference room that is a popular destination for numerous conferences and public lectures. The library is also a repository of ancient manuscripts, photos, newspapers, and very old maps of regions, countries, and Africa. A majority of the manuscripts are in Arabic. Among the artifacts in the library are a 900-year-old Holy Quran, a 20 volumes description of Egypt by Napoleon Bonaparte and a group of French scholars. There is the Sudan Almanac, which is over 100 years old, as well as a Holy Quran, which was donated by the President of the Sudanese Senate in the 1950s. University of Khartoum Library is a must visit to the first-time visitor, as well as researchers and other academics who visit Sudan.
Welcome back, viewers. Before the break, we were talking about the publication of Professor Mustafa, who is a food scientist who has specialized in cereals, and he pioneered the mixture of sorghum and grains, because then there were shortages of sorghum.
Yes.
That was it. And now, through your works, now there is food in abundance, contributing to food security or grain security in the Sudan.
Yes.
Congratulations.
The security depends on sorghum in Sudan.
Okay.
Yes, because we have a long zone from Gaddarf in eastern Sudan to the end of western Sudan. All this zone is suitable for growing sorghum and millet.
And sorghum and millet.
And this is the main food of the Sudanese people.
Oh.
Yes.
Congratulations.
But recently, due to the international aids that sent to the Sudan, wheat flour, then wheat grains and so on, and then people started to shift gradually to wheat.
Yes.
And this is causing a problem because our weather is not suitable for the wheat. Wheat is more cold weather.
Okay.
So we have to grow wheat in certain places. Sorghum you can grow it anywhere in Sudan. In Sudan we have surplus.
So, Professor, how long have you been working here at the Faculty of Agriculture?
For the last 21 years.
22 years.
21 years.
You've been here.
Yes.
It means that you might have trained a lot of people.
Well, yes.
Roughly about how many? How many people have you mentored as a professor here?
About 80 graduates.
80?
Under my supervision.
Under your
They
supervision?
graduated.
And where are they?
They graduated. Many of them, some of them are professors now. Some of them are working in Sudan, some of them are working outside the Sudan. And I'm glad that I see all of them very successful in their work and helping in development of the Sudan and in the field of cereals. And I hope them all the good luck and wish them all the success.
And you are still mentoring them at this?
I'm glad to see them.
Yes. Okay. So how many publications do you have to your credit?
I have about over 60 or 65.
You have 65
about 65 publications.
So where do you publish? In which journals?
I publish many places. In America, in Germany,
you publish
in British journals, in Romanian, in Egyptian, in Gulf,
you must be internationally connected.
Many places.
You are very connected.
Alhamdulillah.
I mean, if you are publishing in Romania, in Egypt, in, Are you a member of any professional association?
Yes, I am a life member of the American Association of Cereal Chemists International.
Life member?
Life member.
Okay.
And also a member, an actual executive of the member of the executive committee for 4 years of the ICC, International Association of Cereal Science and Technology.
Okay.
This is situated in Vienna.
Vienna,
Austria.
Austria. Okay.
Yes. And also I'm a member of the Cultural Society in Sudan.
Okay.
And in Saudi Arabia of Biological Society.
Oh.
And so on.
Okay. So are you still publishing?
Still.
When you stop publishing, what will you do?
I can't stop publishing.
You can't stop publishing?
It's my life.
It's your life?
Yes.
So apart from publishing in cereals and basically on agric, do you publish on any other topic?
I published on date processing.
Date processing?
Yes. I worked in Saudi Arabia.
Oh, you also worked in
about
Saudi?
20 years. And developed another line besides the cereals.
Okay.
The date processing.
Okay.
Date processing. I also published many papers in that. I was a coordinator of 2 conferences of date
processing.
On dates.
On dates in
yes,
general.
On dates and processing and growing and so on.
Okay.
All about dates. And I started the date research in Saudi Arabia.
You started the date research in Saudi Arabia?
Yes, date processing research in Saudi Arabia.
You are a pioneer in many fields.
Alhamdulillah.
And have you been recognized internationally by, all these
Well, I've been
processes?
given a prize in the field of research of the date processing.
Okay.
Yes, prize by other colleagues working in the same field in the second conference.
Okay. Do you have any patent?
No, I will not care about.
You don't care
much
about the patent?
patents.
Somebody might have taken your patent.
So some let them go.
Somebody might have taken it, but the credit goes to you.
I'm not working for myself.
You are working for society.
For others, for society. Whoever can take the work and develop it, or
you are
put it
selfless.
himself, it's okay. No problem.
Okay, now let's talk about your social life. How many wives, as a Muslim, I know maybe 4. You have the maximum 4.
I have only one wife.
No, you are not.
And I hope
you are
to
not
stay.
telling me the truth.
I have to stay with one wife. I hope to stay with one wife.
You have one wife at the age of 76?
Yes.
And you want to stay with one wife?
Yes. How about you?
How about me? I'm very young.
Well, are you looking for second or third?
I'm looking at your daughter.
Already my daughter is married with children. And I have only one daughter.
You have one daughter. So how many children?
I have 4. One daughter, 3 sons.
How many grandchildren?
Children? 4.
You have 4.
3 daughters and one son.
You are unique in your own way.
Well, alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
So what do you do during your leisure? When you are not working, when you are not in a conference or not in the laboratory, what do you do?
Well, at home and in the mosque.
At home and in the mosque?
Yes, alhamdulillah, I pray all my prayers in the mosque. Almost.
Okay.
All my prayers in the mosque. Whatever time I have, I spend there. I visit some of my relatives. I have my relatives about 30 kilometers from here.
Okay.
From time to time I go and visit them.
Okay.
I have a house over there.
Okay. Do you have an experimental farm to yourself?
I don't have a farm, but I have a wide house that has some dates trees, some lemon trees, a small garden.
Yes. And that is
I spend some time.
You spend time there
with some animals in it.
Okay, viewers, we have been talking to Professor Abdul Monim Ibrahim Mustafa, who is a professor of food science and technology and has specialized in cereals He is a professor at the Faculty of Agriculture, University of Khartoum. Unfortunately, we have to wrap up on this discussion. But before we go, Professor, your very final words to people who are listening to you, your piece of advice.
Well, my advice will be through my specialization.
Okay.
I'm specialized in the field of cereals, and I advise everybody to eat sorghum.
Everybody eats sorghum. That is the piece of advice from Professor Abdul Monim Ibrahim Mustafa. Unfortunately, as I keep saying, very good conversations never end. We have come to another end of AAU Impact Stories, and we have come to you live from the University of Khartoum Faculty of Agriculture. Please stay tuned in for other programs, and until we meet again next week, this is your host, Ransom Bekri. Take care.
ba yi dusu ba yi obi so wo ko dum ko to de ketu amba ko to fese na no tete na we nya kakra ko
Africa. This is Event Update on Aau TV, the voice of higher education in Africa. Event Update brings you information about upcoming higher education events happening in Africa, and it is brought to you by the Association of African Universities. I am Isabella Tetahinakwa.
Je m'appelle Alexandra Mpaba-Johnson.
Accra Institute of Technology is a top-notch private university in Ghana. The university offers world-class bachelor's, master's, and PhD degree programs.
IT and management is one of the good courses I think we should offer these days, because I realized that on my years of experience on the IT field, I realized that IT guys find it very difficult to cope with the management aspect. And AIT is giving us the opportunity to do IT and management. We dive into what? Programming. I did HR. I did principal management, and all this one is giving me the opportunity to be able to communicate with my manager. So when we are talking about IT, I know that I'm talking about something technical, and I can also talk about management, which is also another dimension of corporate institution. So with all this, I think AIT is giving us a very nice opportunity.
We are AIT, the University of the Future.
The Association of African Universities, AAU, is calling for academics to enroll for its maiden faculty online modular training formed from June to August 2020. This online teaching modular training is targeted at all academics in African universities to help them enhance their skills in online and remote teaching and learning. The following are some modules for the training: how to manage your online presence, how to teach online, how to welcome students to the online environment, how to organize your online course, planning and facilitating online discussion, synchronous and asynchronous tools in online teaching and learning, presentation tools in the virtual environment, social bookmarking tools, screencasting tools, and online assessment tools, among others. Kindly visit the link on your screen to register. And for more information, contact the webinar officer kasam@aau.org or call +233 243 298464. You can also visit www.aau.org.
L'Association des universités africaines AUA appelle les universitaires à s'inscrire à sa première formation modulaire en ligne de juin à août 2020. Cette formation modulaire d'enseignement en ligne s'adresse à tous les universitaires des universités africaines pour les aider à améliorer leurs compétences dans l'enseignement et l'apprentissage en ligne et à distance. Quelques modules pour la formation sont comment gérer votre présence en ligne, comment enseigner en ligne, comment accueillir les étudiants dans l'environnement en ligne, comment organiser votre cours en ligne, la planification et l'animation de discussions en ligne, les outils synchrones et asynchrones dans l'enseignement et l'apprentissage en ligne, les outils de présentation dans l'environnement virtuel, les outils de bookmarking social, les outils de moulage d'écran et les outils d'évaluation en ligne, entre autres. Veuillez visiter le lien qui s'affiche sur votre écran pour vous inscrire. Et pour plus d'informations, contactez le responsable du webinaire, M. Kwesi Sam, via kassam@aau.org ou appelez le +233 243 29 84 64. Vous pouvez également visiter www.aau.org.
The Center for Research Implications and Practice, a consultancy firm, is calling for abstracts for the first global conference on online education on the theme Best Practices of Online Education, to be held on 10th to 12th August 2020 virtually. With the COVID-19, most educational and training institutions were caught unprepared to move to online education. This conference seeks to bring together many educators and trainers who wish to interact with others around the world and share about online education, and also bring online education experts and enthusiasts together to generate synergy that will help consolidate online education globally. Expected participants are college and university professors, lecturers and administrators, K-12 educators, education technologists, online education researchers, online program leaders, online curriculum specialists, online trainers, and anyone involved in supporting online learners and educators to submit abstracts and or plan to attend this unique international conference. Interested participants are to register before 31st July 2020. For more information, kindly call +254 72 810 8022 or email info@centerrep.org.
Center for Research, Implications and Practice, une société de conseil, lance un appel à communication pour la première conférence mondiale sur l'éducation en ligne sur le thème « Meilleures pratiques de l'éducation en ligne » qui se tiendra du 10 au 12 août 2020. Avec le Covid-19, la plupart des établissements d'enseignement et de formation n'étaient pas préparés à passer à l'enseignement en ligne. Cette conférence vise donc à rassembler de nombreux éducateurs et formateurs qui souhaitent interagir avec d'autres dans le monde pour apprendre et partager sur l'éducation en ligne et aussi apporter des experts et des passionnés de l'éducation en ligne réunis pour générer une synergie qui contribuera à consolider l'éducation en ligne à l'échelle mondiale. Les participants attendus sont des professeurs de collège et d'université, des conférenciers et des administrateurs, des enseignants de la maternelle, des technologues de l'éducation, des chercheurs en éducation en ligne, des responsables de programmes en ligne, des spécialistes du curriculum en ligne, des formateurs en ligne et toute personne impliquée dans l'aide aux apprenants et aux enseignants en ligne pour soumettre des résumés et ou toute personne ayant l'intention d'assister à cette conférence internationale unique. Les participants intéressés doivent s'inscrire avant le 31 juillet 2020. Et pour plus d'informations, veuillez appeler le +254 72 81 08 022 ou envoyer un email à info@centerip.org.
The African Network for Economics of Learning, Innovation and Competence Building Systems is looking for suitable PhD students from universities in African countries to participate in the Africa League's PhD Visiting Fellowship Program 2021 batch, focused on innovation and development at the Department of Political Science, Faculty of Social Science, Aalborg University, Denmark. This fellowship program and scholarship seeks to help African PhD students working in the field of innovation and development to strengthen their academic research qualifications, improve quality of their dissertation, and prepare for a career in innovation and development, either within academia or outside. To be eligible, applicants must be enrolled as a PhD student at a university in Africa, have completed their first year of studies by December 2020, have a background within economics, sociology, political science, science and technology policy, geography, history or development studies. Applicants may also work within the STEM subjects or even manufacturing, but from a social science perspective. Applicants must possess adequate skills in English, be working actively on a subject relevant to the field of innovation and development as defined above, submit a brief application explaining own background, motivation for applying, and expected outcomes of participation in the Africa League's PhD Visiting Fellowship Program. Interested applicants should apply to visitingphd@africaleagues.org with a brief outline of your current PhD project, including training plan, CV, letter of support from the main PhD supervisor confirming that the PhD student will have completed his or her upgrade probation by end January 2021. Letter of support from the university administration at the university where the PhD student is enrolled, copies of academic certificates, one writing sample from current PhD program before 31st July 2020. For more information, please email visitingphd@africaleagues.org or secretariat@africaleagues.org. You can also call +254 710 60 7210.
Le réseau africain pour l'économie de l'apprentissage, de l'innovation et des systèmes de renforcement des compétences recherche des doctorants appropriés des universités des pays africains pour participer. Ce programme de bourse vise à aider les doctorants africains travaillant dans le domaine de l'innovation et du développement à renforcer leur qualification académique de recherche, améliorer la qualité de leur mémoire et préparer une carrière en innovation et développement au sein du monde universitaire ou à l'extérieur. Pour être éligible, le candidat doit être inscrit en tant que doctorant dans une université en Afrique, avoir terminé sa première année d'études d'ici décembre 2020, avoir une formation en économie, sociologie, sciences politiques, politique scientifique et technologique, géographie, histoire ou études du développement. Les candidats peuvent également travailler dans les matières STEM ou même dans la fabrication, mais dans une perspective de sciences sociales. Il doit posséder des compétences adéquates en anglais, travailler activement sur un sujet relevant du domaine de l'innovation et du développement tel que défini ci-dessous. Soumettre une brève candidature de 500 mots expliquant ses propres antécédents, la motivation pour postuler et les résultats attendus de la participation au programme de bourse de visite AfricaLeaks PhD. Postulez à visitephd@africaleaks.org avec un bref aperçu de son projet de doctorat actuel, y compris le plan de formation maximum 5 pages, CV, lettre de soutien du directeur de thèse confirmant que le doctorant aura terminé sa mise à niveau probation d'ici fin janvier 2021. L'aide de soutien de l'administration universitaire de l'université où le doctorant est inscrit, copie de certificat académique, un échantillon d'écriture, article ou chapitre du programme de doctorat en cours avant le 31 juillet 2020. Pour plus d'informations, veuillez envoyer un email à visitephd@africaleaks.org ou au secrétariat @africaleaks.org. Vous pouvez également appeler le +254 71 06 07 210.
That is all for this episode. Events Update is brought to you by the Association of African Universities. Please follow us on our social media platforms at Association of African Universities on Facebook and YouTube, AAU TV _African Universities on Twitter, and AAU TV Official on Instagram. You can also visit our dedicated website at tv.aau.org for more of events updates. Our makeup is done by L Nails and Makeup. I am Isabella Tetahinakwa.
Je m'appelle Alexandra Mpaba Johnson.
Good day, Africa, and welcome to AAU Talks here on AAU TV. My name is Kwesi Sam, and today on AAU Talks, we are discussing critical issues affecting higher education in Africa. You can join us in the studio via our social media platforms, Association of African Universities on Facebook, and AAU _67 via Twitter. We'll go for a short break, and when we return, I will introduce my guest. Stay tuned.
Are you an institution or individual? Do you intend to organize a memorable event to be archived for future reference? Then look no further than AAU Studios, because it's your best bet with our spacious studio and state-of-the-art media equipment such as 4K Panasonic video cameras, KinoFlow lights, assorted microphones, live streaming equipment, among others. You are sure to get the best of productions. Visit us at Trinity Avenue, East Legon, adjacent the National Accreditation Board, or contact the AAU Studios via the following email addresses: info@aau.org, AAUTV@aau.org, or Ransford@aau.org. Alternatively, you can call us on +233 244 736280.
Welcome back, viewers. This is AAU Talks, and we are discussing critical issues affecting higher education in Africa. And we are privileged to have two professors in the studio, and they are going to discuss the issues affecting higher education. We will look at the Southern African region, we will look at the Eastern Africa, and the other regions of Africa. We have in the studio Professor Ngosa Mahau, and he is a governing board member of the Association of African Universities and also the Vice Chancellor, National University of Lesotho. Prof, you are welcome.
Such a pleasure, Kwesi, to be here in the headquarters of the Association of African Universities.
Thank you very much. And I hope you are enjoying Ghana already.
Certainly I am.
Great. The second guest to be introduced is Professor Hassan Mohammed Kafiz, and he is also a governing board member of the Association of African Universities, specifically for the Eastern African region, and he is also the president of Plasma University in Somalia. Prof, you are welcome to AAU Talks.
Thanks. It's a pleasure to be with you.
How are you?
Yeah, very fine.
Great. And I hope both of you have enjoyed Ghana the past few days.
We'll enjoy it. The last 3 days of being here.
Great.
It's always a pleasure coming to Agra.
Okay, that's beautiful. Today on AAU Talks, we are discussing critical issues affecting higher education on the continent, most especially when we have unemployment everywhere in the southern, eastern, western, central Africa, and a lot of stakeholders are bashing the higher education institutions that we are producing graduates who are not fit for the job market. What is your take on unemployment issues in Africa?
Kwesi, the challenge is huge.
Okay.
But I always want to say, as a social scientist,
okay,
let us put our thumb where the problem lies. We live in the age of what is called the Fourth Industrial Revolution, which is very different from the earlier epochs that we have lived. The global economy, by definition, is not generating jobs.
Sure.
So that is where the problem is. Far too often you will be told that it is the education system that is not producing people that are fit for the job market. As if there are jobs waiting there for people to can apply for them and just take.
Okay.
The reality is that we are in the age where the global economy is not generating jobs. Now, what the higher education sector has to do is to reposition itself to say, in the context where industry is not generating jobs, how do we then transform education such that it is able to deal with the three challenges, the unemployability of the graduate, the underemployability of graduate, and of course the general phenomenon of there being no jobs.
No jobs, okay.
So that is a big challenge that says to us that we have to focus our training in the areas that we believe would be able to equip our graduates with the capacity to create jobs themselves and also to employ others. It is always a very big challenge.
Prof, you know, when you speak to industry players, industry players will tell you the jobs are available, but the graduates who are coming out are not trained to fit into the job market. Professor Kafi, is it the same in Somalia specifically?
Yeah.
Do you have industries in Somalia complaining that the students who come out of your universities are not fit for the job market?
As Professor said, there is a big dilemma in between the discussion. The argument is that other jobs waiting, enough jobs, because technology is overtaking almost a human position.
Yes.
And all we are producing is a human trained, which we wanted to fit the job market. So we are all facing in Africa mostly, or in other world, any part of the world, that jobs are being reduced. There are less based jobs. Number one. Number two, universities have rethink it and just going to do the curriculum changes, and they have done a lot because we are now trying to produce job creators, not job seekers. And the other way. So universities are bringing and just encouraging graduates to be those who are creating jobs for others, not those who are looking to occupy spaces in a job places. So the argument is on the desk that we are living a world which technology is taking almost the work of 3 or 4 or 5 people in one place. So what will the phenomena be the next generation who is coming, or the graduates who are coming now? What are the space remaining for them? How are we going to give them space? And that discussion should be participated by the industry and the academics.
Thank you very much. I think he brings in a factor that is much relevant. We trying to produce job creators and not job seekers. Are universities ready, or are we in the position to do so?
My sense is that universities are adjusting.
Okay, gradually.
And this is going to be over time. But by and large, recognition has emerged that the primary focus of the global system of education, but more so in the context of Africa, should be to train and produce more and more graduates in the so-called STEMs area, science, engineering, technology, mathematics, and science. Because these are people that, as my colleague here, Professor Kathy says, these are people who are going to be ahead of the technological developments. Because basically the digital age says that is where the global economy is going to be growing. And so more and more products of universities must be pitched in that space.
But you see, even developing that further, we are focusing on STEM, which is good. But what happens to the students who are not in a STEM-related field? What happens to them?
I'm not in favor of the argument that let's do away with the humanities.
Yes.
They say that a man armed with science but no conscience is a bomb waiting to explode.
Yes.
And so the humanities must always be there because they are what balances our consciousness. The ability to do, if not balanced with doing the right things, is a dangerous knowledge in men's hands. And so we must always have the humanities. But of course, even with the humanities, the universities are now trying to be a lot more selective in terms of saying what are the areas that should produce graduates that are empowered not to be job seekers, but to be creators of jobs.
Great. So, Professor Kafis, let me come to you. How do we create an enabling environment for our students right from campus to empower them and to ensure that they become job creators and not job seekers after school? As academics, what can we do?
What we just try to do, and we are supposed to, is we just we allow students as they are learning to go outside and to explore what's going on the real market. You know, if a student stays at the campus for 4 years and after graduation he has that broadness that is graduate of university and he wants to start somewhere from his life or job. So we allow them first to go around as we are giving him lectures or theories. They will go from year one. After the end of the year one, what we do as a university, we send them to the market where they are going to work. We tell them be volunteer at your site. Then as a student goes to close for graduation, he will know exactly where to position himself at the market. And he will be a more entrepreneur than other student who has been kept at the campus, full-time student who has never been paid or been sponsored by government. By the end, he comes out and waits and feels that while the wait is him to join, but nobody waits him that time and get disappointed or discouraged. So what we are doing now, we send him to the market earlier and tell them to see what are you going to contribute that market which you are going closer to the next 3 to 4 years. The second thing we are trying to do as academicians, even universities are no longer not only academician institutions which are standing somewhere, even they have to come up with business sectors which help as income generating. By the same way, students will go there for volunteers and do a lot of efforts, and as a groupies they can help the other investing institutions to create for them the life coming.
Great. That is also excellent. But Prof, we are talking about the fact that we need to create that enabling environment, and you made mention of the student being allowed to go to the job market whilst they are still on campus. But here is a situation where in Africa, or African higher education, there is a huge gap between the industries or the private sector and then the academic institutions. And most often than not, attachment, volunteerism, and then internships are not really managed by the universities because of this gap. How do we ensure that our students, whilst they're still in school, they have access to the industries for training?
Historically, industry and the higher education sector operated in an environment where there was very little contact.
Yes.
It is absolutely necessary in our age that industry recognizes that it has an important role to play.
Absolutely.
In higher education, in training, because they are the consumers of the products at the end of the day. So university industry linkages are so important and they have to be emphasized. And of course, it is our challenge as higher education to go out there, try to work on the consciousness of industry, to be aware that they have a hand to play in training those that they will be consuming as their products at the end of the day. So that's very important. But secondly, it is very, very imperative that universities embed entrepreneurial skills in their training across the spectrum of disciplines that they offer.
Sure.
So that you have a student who is able, by the day he walks out there on a graduation day, who will be able to develop a business plan, farm it out, maybe to the banks or whoever, to get a startup capital, and can then get into the world of work and creating jobs. So yes, there are still challenges, in particular because the industry is not so well developed on the African continent, but more so it is at the level of consciousness. The awareness of industry that it has a historical mission to contribute to higher education.
Great. Let me, before I go to Professor Kafis, let me be a bit specific with your university. Do you enjoy that partnership from the industry players? Do they support you? And does your university also open up to the industry players, maybe to make decisions with respect to your academic or your curriculum? Or do you invite them to even lecture or give some kind of series to your students?
We are cultivating this new culture. And in the last 2 years, I personally have witnessed tremendous support from industry. I will tell you that we have moved into the area of innovation, where a number of products that have been incubated in our laboratories are now ready for commercialization. And we have had a lot of industry support in the development of the products. We are now at a stage where we are saying we want to move to the next level, which is establishing what we call the industrial park. And we are again calling on industry to say, yes, we want to establish these industries, come in with your big pockets, invest in them, so that they are able to create jobs, so that you are able to manufacture goods in the country that will not only provide job opportunities, but also to the foreign hard currency through export. So yes, there is a shift, discernible shift, and it affirms the general trend in the world.
That's beautiful. Do you have the same situation in your university where you have industry supporting you?
We are getting good collaboration with the industry, though the country has gone through collapse or problem. After chaos. But now as the institution is our industry are coming back and the academics. So we have tried to do that linkage stronger, and even we had a meeting, a conference, which most of the stakeholders were participating to redesign our curriculum, because we are going to produce graduates who are eligible to work, to do the work of tomorrow, not the work of yesterday. You know, if your curriculum is not updated, you are producing graduates of the yesterday, not the graduates of tomorrow. So we told them to help us to redesign and to see about what is needed in our industry at this level. And you know, the curriculum must be the context of the curriculum must be relevant to the stage of life of the nation. So that is what we are now doing, and the good thing, we have succeeded to send the students to do internship inside some industries, though we know it is not the way it should be, because things are now coming back and we are trying all the sides.
Okay. Prof, let's go to another area which is becoming a bane to African higher education, and that is academic brain drain, where we have the finest brains and then the brilliant Africans migrating to the other continent. You know, the developed world brings in scholarships, brings in grants, and then we find the best brains who can develop our continent running away. How do we tackle such an issue? Because in the near future, we would have the best brains that can develop our continent out. What do we do as academics?
Historically, from around the 80s, we got the wrong advice as developing countries that higher education is not a priority. And so governments are not investing, disinvested in higher education. And that's the time when the African university lost some of their best brains, because they all flowed to the developed north. And over the period, you can see the huge gap that has developed between not just the university in the south and the university in the north, but also the economies of the two global sub-regions. Of course, this point has been recognized at the political level by the African Union. And of course, that has been the campaign of the Association of African Universities to say, let us develop our own capacities as universities so that we are repositioned to address the developmental challenges of the continent. So this is a major shift. But the resources, research resources, for example, the working conditions in the African university,
it's not like
still leave a lot to be desired. The result is that those who have the best research opportunities and working conditions still lie in the north, the global north. So the African university still faces a major challenge. But that is where the AAU comes in to say, let us help build each other's capacities so that we have a good standard of education on the African continent. We are able to develop our own researchers that will bear on the development of the African continent.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Prof, let me take your view on that.
Okay. As my colleague said, almost he has touched all the areas, but including we need to create that feeling that this is our continent and no longer you stay a developed part of the world. Where you are going to be back is your home, I mean the continent. So I first put a strong intention that our graduates or our academicians should have that feeling of what kind of contribution they are going to give. And as a political wise, each government, I hope, can come up with that strategy, this or something which can maintain those who are talented people in the nation who are now just traveling and had to be back again to home. So I think, as a friend said, it is about the association and the Union of African Union to just campaign for it. And if political wise, you know, some of the political situation of some countries, some of the academicians even feel that they need to be out of that box, and that is the way they can develop only the ideas. So I hope if we create that awareness or promotions for those who we feel that they can really develop and contribute the continent, as a continent we can have them inside the continent somewhere.
That's
Thank you.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Viewers, this is AAU Talks here on AAU TV, and today we are looking at critical issues affecting African higher education. We have Professor Hafiz and Professor Mahau in the studio. We'll go for a short break, and when we return, we'll look at other factors as well. Stay tuned. Welcome from the commercial break. This is AAU Talks here on AAU TV. We still have our professors in the studio, and we are discussing critical issues affecting African higher education. Now, let me get to you, Prof. Issues concerning research. The normal parlance in African higher education has been publish or perish as academics. So we have a lot of academics publishing a lot, and it's amazing that even with the number of journals and publications we are making, Africa contributes almost about 2% to the global knowledge. Every university is set up for 3 reasons: to train or to teach, to engage in research, and also community service. Is the idea of publish or perish affecting us as higher education? And how is it affecting that? Are we benefiting from it? And how are we benefiting from this syndrome?
Research is a big challenge for the African university. First and foremost, how much of our GDP do we commit
to
research?
Yeah.
You will notice that African countries, by and large, commit a minuscule. In the part of the world where I come from, Southern Africa, I think it is South Africa that commits a lot more into research. Possibly Botswana coming close to that.
Yeah.
But by and large, the consciousness has not arisen in the African government that you have to put resources that enable research to be leveraged by your scholars. Now, we need to acknowledge this one fact. When we talk about research, we're talking about knowledge production.
Yes.
And there is just no way in which Africa will develop without its own scholars being able to do research and customize the outputs of their
own research,
exactly, to the needs of their societies. Earlier on, I spoke about what our scientists are doing in the laboratories, researching and coming out with tangible goods, articles that are convertible into commercial goods. That is the basis of industrialization.
Exactly.
The reason why 50, 60 years on in some countries, why Africa is an importer of goods and services is because we did not start where it ought to start, in the laboratory. We always believe that we can leverage commodities coming from elsewhere.
Yes.
And as we did so, we were actually growing economies that are external to us. So,
and not our own.
And not our own economies.
Exactly.
So it is so important for governments, for industry itself, for the university itself to understand that development starts with local research. Now,
even before you continue, is it not for a fact that universities maybe are not conducting, let me use the word, cross-cutting or relevant research to the needs of the government and to the needs of the industries? That is why they are not supporting. For instance, if I'm a consumer and I want to buy a product, I will purchase a product that has value. I would invest in a product that has value. But if you are conducting research just for the purpose of the fact that you want to progress through the academic ladder, and it's not for commercial use, it is not tilted to the needs of the people, then the government won't see the need to invest, industry players won't see the need to invest.
Well, there will always be space for basic research to advance the frontiers of knowledge.
Yes.
It's absolutely necessary to do. But we must largely invest in applied research.
Sure.
Because applied research responds to the day-to-day needs of society.
Sure.
And that is the frontier where there are huge possibilities of cooperation with industry. Industry can actually drive research by investing in what the needs of a particular industry are. So, yes, we need to navigate that tangent. The trouble is this. Over time, when there was this period of demoralization of the African academics were not doing research at all.
Sure.
So we have almost had to go back to the basics and say, if you are an academic, you must be a researcher. You have referred to the cliche, publish or perish.
Exactly.
Far too often we did not enforce that as universities. But I'm content with the fact that increasingly universities are saying, the day you sign your contract to be an academic, remember that it is not just for you to administer tuition, but you also have to do research. You have to do community service, because that is where you interact with the community. In any case, tune your community engagement in such a manner that it becomes the platform of your research.
Exactly.
Where you are enriching the knowledge in the classroom, in the libraries, but you are also enriching the communities with the values that you are generating from your research.
Great. Professor Kapis, are we doing well with research commercialization and community service as African academics?
Really, I can't say yes, but we are in somewhere starting, because the points Kilo has pointed out is that what we all need is let us be practical then to just write a book and produce a knowledge which we don't know who is going to read it. Yes. Again, the challenges we face somewhere in the countries, especially in our home, there is a gap between the community and the academicians, because we are teaching in English, and probably after we do the researches and we print out, there is less beneficiary for the public, because they are not
they don't understand that language.
Yeah, the real language you are just publishing. So we have enforced it again. The students who are doing, or whoever academician who are doing, they have to translate. After finishing, they have to translate what they have again done and do other separate books. At least people read and see if they can say they can understand in the real meaning and the real life with their real comparing to the real life. Because you may have books, you may have publication to reach a point that you are knocking, but it is a problem that it is not being used at all.
Okay.
So we are as in Somalia, we are trying to bring the attention that this publication which has been already done must be at least used in the real life, and it has to change something about our space. Okay.
All right. So thank you very much. With our final word, we want to look at the issues of funding. Funding is becoming a big issue in African higher education, and we are saying that education must be affordable, it must be accessible to everybody, but people are discriminated because of issues of finances, and governments all over Africa are now drawing their funds gradually from the universities. How do we keep up and then still ensure that as a university we are able to spearhead and then execute our mandate?
Yes, it is a big challenge. The issue of funding higher education is a challenge. And I remember that higher education is a very capital intensive enterprise that requires a lot of funds. And it is the case that the state has to share the little resources with all of the development challenges that it has to confront. Now, of course, historically, the state has a principal responsibility to provide funding. Let's not allow the temptation to say that the state must completely pull out. It shouldn't. It shouldn't. It has an obligation to actually create a new resource capital of the country for the future. But secondly, the private sector. The private sector has to play a far more meaningful role in funding higher education. That has not been readily forthcoming. And as I said earlier on, yes, you can see that there is a little bit of a gradual movement in that direction. But then, of course, the university of our time also has to be very innovative. Yes. To come out with a myriad of ways of generating resources by itself. In my university, and I suppose in many other universities, we have established a company, a university holding company.
So university enterprise?
Yes, whose main source is to manage the range of enterprises that the university is establishing either outside itself or through, as I indicated, the articles that are coming from the laboratories and that need to be commercialized. We have to also establish foundations that can go out there. You know, the in the world who was sitting on huge
billions of dollars,
reservoirs of resources,
sure,
which they don't know where to spend them on, and we need to establish bridgeheads that would leverage those resources. So, yes, there must be a diversity of mechanisms by which the university itself is able to plug the gap, the funding gap that is emerging. And that is when you talk about the enterprising university, because we live in that age where the resources are not readily available from the public purse. Yeah.
Prof? By adding to my friend's what I would say, you know, I'm from private university, and in our country, most universities are private. I can say one university is a public, Somali National University, and it came because of after the civil war and the collapse of the state, people started to do their universities on their own way. What happened is they rarely get any funds from a government, but they have managed again to make education affordable, because it is what is the public universities are taking now, enterprising and having holding or investment company in the university, which runs that enterprises which are in different areas. As Plasma University, we have that one. And not only we have in Somalia alone, but even we have in the closer neighbor countries like Kenya or other countries. We have seen it can be the real sustainability of the university should be relying on it is income generating areas or other resources where we are getting, instead of looking for donors. And you know, donors, and I don't know where the world is going now, but I'm feeling there is a fatigue for donors around the world, and the crisis of our world are increasing. So people are now focusing about emergencies, helping emergency cases. So universities should have a way out to help themselves and to reach self-reliance. That is when we were even celebrating our 10th anniversary on 2015, our theme was 10 years of a decade of academic excellence and self-reliance. That is what we have been doing all the way, building our campus, building whatever. We have never ever get any donor fund from any counter, but we are doing ours by inside that entrepreneurial skills we are using in the different areas.
In the next 50 years, where do you want to see African higher education?
Wow, that's a mouthful one. Higher education on this continent
just within
is the motor of development.
Sentences.
It's a motor of development.
Okay.
It has to be strengthened so that it is able to deliver on the goods.
Okay.
And it is only through higher education that the gap between the developed and the underdeveloped world will be closed. Think of the Northeast Asia countries, how they were at the same level of development on the eve of independence. And they have moved way ahead. And the driver was actually higher education. And so we need actually to catch up with them by strengthening the capacities of higher education.
Thank you very much. Prof, in the next 50 years, what do you want to see?
More broad, the word should be stronger enough, but we say what we need, we have a vision which we have written down in the starting. So we want it to be, the word is in the vision, to be, globally excellence academic centers which are producing graduates which can compete all over the world, whether it's north or east or south. We don't think Africa higher education after 50 years is still waiting to be named undeveloped or underdeveloping countries. We hope it should be, because world has changed, as my friend talks about, from before even 10 years most production of the world or the most market was west. Now it is east. So we hope it will be sought which we mean Africa, should be the leading position as Asia is now. Thank you.
Thank you so much for spending your time with us and sharing innovative ideas and solutions to better African higher education. We know we'll fall on you once again to share with you some thoughts as well.
Thank you so much.
Viewers, this has been AAU Talks here on AAU TV. Thank you for watching. You can still join the conversation via our social media platform. My name is Kwesi Sam, and thank you for your time.
Hello Africa, this is Event Update on AAU TV, the voice of higher education in Africa. Event Updates brings you information about upcoming higher education events happening in Africa, and it is brought to you by the Association of African Universities. I am Isabella Tutahinakwa.
Je m'appelle Alexandra Mpaba-Johnson.
Accra Institute of Technology is a top-notch private university in Ghana. The university offers world-class bachelor's, master's, and PhD degree programs.
IT and management is one of the good courses I think we should offer these days, because I realized that on my years of experience on the IT field, I realized that IT guys find it very difficult to cope with the management aspect. And AIT is giving us the opportunity to do IT and management. We dive into what? Programming. I did HR, I did principal management, and all this one is giving me the opportunity to be able to communicate with my manager. So when we are talking about IT, I know that I'm talking about something technical, and I can also talk about management, which is also another dimension of corporate institution. So with all this, I think AIT is giving us a very nice opportunity.
We are AIT, the University of the Future.
The Association of African Universities, AAU, is calling for academics to enroll for its maiden faculty online modular training formed from June to August 2020. This online teaching modular training is targeted at all academics in African universities to help them enhance their skills in online and remote teaching and learning. The following are some modules for the training: how to manage your online presence, how to teach online, how to welcome students to the online environment, how to organize your online course, planning and facilitating online discussion, synchronous and asynchronous tools in online teaching and learning, presentation tools in the virtual environment, social bookmarking tools, screencasting tools, and online assessment tools, among others. Kindly visit the link on your screen to register. And for more information, contact the webinar officer kasam@aau.org or call +233 243 298464. You can also visit www.aau.org.
L'Association des universités africaines AUA appelle les universités
at africaleads.org or secretariat@africaleads.org. You can also call +254 710 607210.
Le réseau africain pour l'économie de l'apprentissage, de l'innovation et des systèmes de renforcement des compétences recherche des doctorants appropriés des universités des pays africains pour participer. Ce programme de bourse vise à aider les doctorants africains travaillant dans le domaine de l'innovation et du développement à renforcer leur qualification académique, améliorer la qualité de leur mémoire et préparer une carrière en innovation et développement au sein du monde universitaire ou à l'extérieur. Pour être éligible, le candidat doit être inscrit en tant que doctorant dans une université en Afrique, avoir terminé sa première année d'études d'ici décembre 2020, avoir une formation en économie scientifique et technologique, ses propres antécédents, la motivation pour postuler et les résultats de doctorat actuels, y compris le plan de formation maximum 5 pages. CV, lettre de soutien du directeur de thèse confirmant que janvier 2021, lettre de soutien de l'administration universitaire de l'univers chapitre du programme de doctorat en cours avant le 31 juillet 2020. Pour plus d'informations, veuillez envoyer un email à visitephd@. Website at tv.aau.org for more.
Africa. Welcome to another edition of Ladies Digest on Aau TV. And I'm filling in for your regular host, Joan, who is celebrating International Women's Day in Kenya. Today, we are discussing the topic endometriosis, and we'll be back shortly after the break. Stay tuned.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for joining us to discuss this interesting topic, endometriosis.
Yes.
But before we go, we don't want to rush endometriosis since there are complex situations that comes about it. And so we will start with the woman's menstrual cycle. What is the menstrual cycle?
So the menstrual cycle that allows reproduction to take place. And so the process is regulated by the female hormones, estrogen and progesterone. Hormones increase and decrease in such a way as to prepare the lining of the uterus, called the endometrium, for pregnancy. At a certain point during the month, as the hormones increase, they trigger ovulation, which is the release of an egg from the ovary every month. And then if pregnancy does not occur, both of the hormones start to decrease. And then at the end, or the beginning, I should say, of the menstrual cycle is when the menses occurs. And so the menstrual cycle on average can last from 21 to 35 days, but for most women it's around 28 days.
That is the regular cycle?
That's the regular. Some women will have 25 days, some women will have 30 days, but on average, women are most familiar with the 28-day cycle.
Okay, so talking about the menstrual cycle, what are some of the common symptoms of the normal menstrual cycle? Yeah, because we see a lot of them, we hear about a lot of them. So what are the symptoms of the normal menstrual cycle?
There are many different things that can occur that signals a woman that the menses is about to occur.
Okay.
So again, the cycle is what occurs throughout the month. So
Yeah.
during the month before the menses actually occurs, you may notice some differences in the vaginal discharge.
Okay.
We talked about vaginal discharge quite a bit in the last episode. So typically the vaginal discharge may vary in color and quantity, and also in consistency.
Okay.
And it's because of the cycling of the hormones, like I mentioned. There also can be some changes that occur around ovulation time. So some women may feel ovulation, either on the right or the left side. It varies from month to month, the side that the egg comes from.
Very true. I relate
yes.
to that.
So sometimes you may notice a little slight cramping or discomfort on one side or the other or in the pelvis. It usually doesn't last long, and it's not severe that requires any medication. Usually a day or two you might notice a fullness or heaviness in the pelvis, and then it goes away.
Okay.
As the menses is about to occur, you may notice a change in your vaginal discharge again. But more commonly, you will notice your premenstrual symptoms or PMS, premenstrual syndrome.
Yeah, I really wanted you to go there because some say it's a myth. Yeah.
It's very real.
Okay.
Many women experience premenstrual syndrome or PMS, I'm going to call it. Some women don't have it at all. They are the lucky ones, I guess we can call them. But you may notice skin changes, acne, which will increase right before the menses occurs. You might notice fatigue. You might notice breast tenderness or even breast swelling. All of these are hormonal responses, and they can be normal. You might notice even some mild cramping in your pelvis before the menses is going to occur. That's what's most associated with premenstrual syndrome. And it can be feeling very tearful or down, or you can maybe one moment you're okay and then you get angry the next few minutes. So these are all things that can occur right before functioning.
Daily activities.
As long as you're still able to go about your normal business and interact with people in a way that you feel is productive and normal, then it's not anything to be worried about.
Okay.
During the menses, obviously, the symptoms tend to be cramping.
Yeah.
Sometimes mild, sometimes it can be severe. But if it's severe, it tends to be manageable with pain medication. So acetaminophen or paracetamol or any of the NSAIDs like ibuprofen or diclofenac or diclo, I hear people calling it. Those things should be enough to control the cramping associated with a normal menses if it's on the more severe side. Sometimes also you might notice that your bowel habits will change, meaning your bowel movement. So many women will report either diarrhea or it's in the uterine lining when your menses occurs. Also can affect your intestines because the bowel sits right behind the uterus. So it's very common that women will experience something like that when their menses.
Symptoms, what is it?